Hello, it's very good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che. President Park Geun-hye will meet with the nation's leading news outlets for the first time in 3 years this week in an effort to gauge public opinion after a disastrous parliamentary election for the ruling Saenuri Party. Kwon Jang-ho has our top story.
A rare meeting between the president and the chief editors of Korea's news and media outlets is scheduled for Tuesday. It will be only the second one between the president and the media since she took office, the first coming in July 2013, 5 months after her term started. President Park Geun-hye was said to have called for the meeting to gain a better understanding of the public sentiment in the wake of the general election earlier this month. Representatives from 46 media companies will be in attendance. They will listen to a speech by the president, followed by a Q&A session, which is also a rarity for a presidential press event.
국민의 민의를 겸허히 받들어서 국정의 최우선 순위를 민생에 두고 사명감으로 대한민국의 경제 발전과 경제혁신 3개년 계획을 마무리하도록 하는데 혼신의 노력을 다하고자 합니다.
The recent parliamentary election was a chastening experience for the president's ruling Saenuri Party, which lost its parliamentary majority and won just 122 seats in the 300-seat National Assembly. That's just 1 seat less than the main opposition Minju Party of Korea, which took 123 seats. The minor opposition People's Party won 38 seats. Without a majority in the assembly, it's expected to be difficult for the Saenuri Party to pass several bills it regards as key, including a labor reform package.
20대 국회가 민생과 경제에 매진하는 일하는 국회가 되기를 기대하면서 정부도 새롭게 출범하는 국회와 긴밀하게 협력해 나갈 것입니다.
There are also plans for the editors to meet with the representatives from the main political parties, where they are expected to discuss the current state of affairs. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
The floor leaders of Korea's 3 main political parties have agreed to focus their attention on a series of bills related to welfare and youth employment within the current parliamentary session. The ruling Saenuri Party's Won Yu-chul, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea's Lee Jong-gul, and the minor opposition People's Party's Chu Seung-yong met at the National Assembly on Sunday. The trio also reached a tentative agreement on a bill that would lift regulations on certain industries to boost employment. They also vowed to pass bills sitting in the Legislation and Judiciary Committee before the current parliamentary session ends on May 20th. The government has promised to protect jobs and support workers who could be laid off as part of its corporate restructuring drive set for this year. A finance ministry official said Sunday, although currently there are no plans for a budget supplement if layoffs do occur, they would have no choice but to consider one in that event. He was speaking after a meeting with Deputy Prime Minister Yoo Il-ho and other finance ministry officials on ways to restructure troubled industries. Of particular concern has been the country's flagging shipping industry, with companies such as Hyundai Merchant Marine and Hanjin Shipping facing liquidity shortages. North Korea says its recent test of a submarine-launched ballistic missile was a success. However, Seoul begs to differ. According to South Korea's military, it will be quite some time before the missile is ready for deployment. Kim Yeon-bin has the details.
New analysis of North Korea's submarine-launched ballistic missile test on Saturday has cast doubt on Pyongyang's claim of success. South Korea's defense ministry said on Sunday that after analyzing images of the launch, it will likely be a while before the missile is fully operational.
North Korea has made some improvements in developing its submarine-launched ballistic missile, but it'll take quite some time before it can be deployed.
The South Korean Defense Ministry also condemned the launch, which the North state-run Korean Central News Agency said gives the North the ability to strike South Korea and the United States at any time. South Korean media had reported the projectile flew around 30 kilometers, well short of the 300 kilometers minimum that military experts in the South say will be required for a successful launch. Meanwhile, North Korea has deployed 300 new multiple launch rocket systems along its border with South Korea. Seoul-based Yonhap News reported Sunday, citing military sources, that Pyongyang has dispatched the 122mm multiple rocket launchers on the demilitarized zone, separating the two Koreas. These weapon systems have an estimated range of some 40 kilometers, putting parts of Seoul and the surrounding area within striking distance. The launchers have up to 40 barrels per unit. and when fired at once, it could send roughly 9,000 rockets southward. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Pyongyang is ready to halt its nuclear test if the U.S. suspends an ongoing military exercise with South Korea. That's according to North Korea's Foreign Minister Ri Su-yong, who said in a rare interview with the Associated Press in New York on Saturday that the regime was compelled to develop nuclear weapons to counter the nuclear threats from Washington. The communist state made the same proposal before, but Washington rejected it, saying Pyongyang is banned from nuclear tests under UN resolutions, and the drills with Seoul are purely defensive in nature. The latest offer comes amid growing concerns that North Korea could conduct a fifth nuclear test before its Workers' Party Congress in early May, the first of its kind in over 3.5 decades. Meanwhile, South Korea's Unification Minister says it is not the time for dialogue with North Korea, but rather a time for sanctions and keeping the pressure on Pyongyang. Hong Yong-pyo told reporters on Sunday that Seoul's aim is the peaceful reunification of the two Koreas, and the South must work toward that goal by pressuring the North to give up its nuclear weapons program. Hong also said Seoul needs a different North Korea policy, as it is no longer the same regime from the past. In its latest provocation, North Korea test fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile on Saturday after nuclear tests and missile launches earlier this year. It is currently threatening to conduct a fifth nuclear test. Moving over to the tech realm, Samsung Electronics has topped the list for the number of patents related to LTE communications technology for the second year running. A report compiled by Taiwan's Intellectual Property Office reveals that Samsung holds over 950 LTE and LTE patents out of the more than 7,500 LTE patents overall, or about 13% of the total. A Samsung representative said the company's LTE patent portfolio and technologies will help it secure an early lead in the development of 5G technology as well. Qualcomm came in second with almost 12%. Korea's LG was tied for that spot last year, but dropped to fifth this year with just 8.3% of the total. Apple has just 1.8% of the patent share this year. 3 or 4 lucky local retailers will be smiling from ear to ear before the week is up here in Korea. That's because the Korea Customs Service is slated to announce which companies will be allowed to open new duty-free shops in Seoul. The additional duty-free stores are seen as a necessity to meet the growing demand from Chinese tourists. Duty-free stores posted a combined $8 billion in sales last year, with growth of about 15.1% over the past decade. This is a kind of golden era for duty-free stores here in Korea, as operational licenses have been extended from 5 years to 10, and new licenses will be renewed automatically. There are concerns, though, that there may be too many duty-free shops in Korea, in Seoul rather, to make a profit. Korean farmers eager to export their goods still face a number of obstacles, but the government says it is working to fix that problem. Kim Mo-kyun explains how a new agency set up by the Rural Development Administration could provide the much-needed assist.
Korean farmers have struggled to export their products because they don't have an exclusive outlet they can turn to for assistance.
The biggest problem we're experiencing is that we don't have anywhere to ask for help when pests occur.
Now, Korea's Rural Development Administration has launched a special agency to mentor farmers. It will inform farmers on a range of issues, from growing environmentally friendly crops, shipping products by air and sea, and exporting overseas.
We plan to offer active solutions step by step, beginning with problems they are experiencing in the field.
The agency will be divided into 6 sectors, such as gardening and stock breeding, to provide customized assistance. The latest efforts are expected to increase exports in the agricultural industry and raise global competitiveness. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
Korean cuisine, or hanshik, is generating excitement in the global culinary world. In the latest indication of this, hanshik will become the first foreign cuisine added to the curriculum of the prestigious French culinary institution École Ferrandi in Paris. The school will also open a branch in Korea in the coming months to be co-managed by École Ferrandi and Korea's Mir Foundation. The foundation was established in October with donations from 16 local companies to promote the Korean wave. Foundation Director Kim Hyung-soo said the goal is to train global chefs who have hanshik in their DNA. The school will accept its first 100 students next March. Graduates of both the 9-month regular course and the 3-month short course will be able to apply for internships linked to renowned French restaurants. Now for a quick look at the weather before we go. The worst wave of fine dust Korea has seen this spring is finally passing, and by Monday, the area in most parts of the nation will be dust-free. Temperature-wise, Seoul, Daegu, and Jeonju will all start the day at 10 degrees Celsius. Later on, things will warm up all the way to 25 in Seoul, 24 in Daegu, and 26 in Jeonju. That's Korea for you. Let's check out the weather conditions in other parts of our world. That brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. Here's wishing you a great start to a brand new week.